next position we're going to be looking at are shoulder rotation positions. So your book is going to show you both at 90 degrees for external and internal rotation. All I'm going to go through for this exercise is with the arm adducted at the side from external to internal. This internal rotation position won't work if you've got someone that has a large abdomen because it skews the range. So keep that in mind when you're measuring. So Cindy, all I'm going to have you do is get your arm here, elbow tucked in at your side. The other key to this position is that the shoulder isn't out here because that is also going to skew the position. So we want that elbow tucked nicely in laterally with the trunk, okay? I'm going to put my solid arm of the goniometer and the axis up under the elbow as close to the body as possible so that we're starting in a straight line. And now Cindy, I'm going to have you bring your arm out as far as it will go. You are just as flexible as Gumby, aren't you? And then we're measuring here. And looking down at the goniometer, we've got 60 degrees. And then come on back to neutral. Perfect. That's external rotation. Internal rotation is going to come across the tummy. Same kind of idea. So staying perpendicular and then coming out and across. And then we are at 60 degrees as well. Again, there's a couple of different positions that can skew this, and there's a couple of other ways to measure it. For our purposes here, to start out with some of the basic measurements, that's one of the things that we can do. This real large goniometer can also throw things off depending on the placement of the patient, so there are alternate gonies, some smaller ones that will be used much the same way but don't have the big round face to them.
Can you hold both of those up actually?
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't have it zoomed.
Positioning for this particular range. Okay? All right. Let's go into the elbow and looking at elbow range of motion. Elbow range of motion can be done in sitting or standing. It's best done with the arm at the side versus out in front. So I'm going to have you stand up, Cindy, if that's all right, if you're comfortable there. Just have your arm completely straight at your side. Do the best that you can to really just straighten it out. We're lining our goniometer here up at the lateral epicondyle and the upper arm. And then from here, I'm going to have you work on touching your shoulder. And again, adjusting that axis to stay lined up as necessary and along the lateral aspect of the radius. So we've got 0 from a straight line starting at 0 to 145. And straighten that arm out, Cindy. That's perfect.
Can you start at 0 and do that one more time?
Yep.
I want to get closer to the goni.
So finding that lateral epicondyle, lining up with the upper arm. In the event that you've got someone with a rather large, fleshy upper arm, Cindy is not the case with her, but if you have someone, you just have to do your best to imagine the line of the humerus here and maintaining that midline for the line of the humerus. All right, Cindy, from here I'm going to have you go ahead and touch that upper arm, and again, centering that along the lateral aspect of the radius. Okay.
So as Cindy is flexed, it's not flexing towards 0, it's flexing away from 0, so she's actually at 130 or 140 degrees.
Yep, a greater range of motion. There's a couple of different schools of thought on how to measure this. Couple of different ways. Let's say Cindy didn't have full extension, didn't have a full 0. She didn't have a full 0 when we started out at 30. This can be measured as elbow flexion 30/145, or it could be measured simply as -30 under extension because she's lacking 30 degrees of extension, or some people will just very specifically note in an evaluation lacks 30 degrees of extension from full extension. So a couple different schools of thought. The key with any of these ranges is that you're consistent in how you measure it, and that as a group or as a team you guys all measure it the same, so that if someone were to pick up a chart and read Cindy's extension, they understood that she was lacking 30 degrees.
And surprisingly, elbow flexion and extension tends to be one of the more confusing measurements based on what Diana was just saying. So practice this at home, and we'll spend some time when we get together on the 17th going more into, the lag or -30 or how you write it. But practice it at home and ask us any questions that you have.